You're listening to The Secrets of Doctor Who, where we discuss everything about the hit BBC series, Doctor Who. And today we're discussing the third Doctor story, Death to the Daleks. I'm Dom Bettinelli, and joining me today is Jimmy Akin. Hey, Jimmy.
Howdy, Dom.
Folks, be sure to follow The Secrets of Doctor Who and Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, we're at TuneIn, we're in your favorite podcast app, or watch us on our YouTube channel where you can hit the bell to get notifications. You'll find us at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. So, Jimmy, can you give us a recap of what happens in Death to the Daleks?
This week, the third Doctor and Sarah Jane Smith arrive on the planet Exxilon, which is excellent, except for the fact that the TARDIS and all other technology is affected by a mysterious power drain. The power drain is caused by a city that was built by the ancient Exxilons who traveled the stars before they built the city. But eventually they built it and gave it artificial intelligence, which caused the downfall of their civilization, giving us all a lesson against creating advanced AI. Now, a group of space marines from Earth are on the planet. They're here to get some unobtainium to cure a space plague. Also arriving are a group of Daleks who pretend to want the unobtainium for the same reason, but really they want to use it to force other space powers to bend to their will. Since the electrical power is out, the Doctor arranges a temporary alliance between the humans and the Daleks, but he knows that they will immediately betray the humans as soon as the power is restored. Also on the planet are two groups of Exxilons. One group worships the city as a god, but forget about them because the other group are rebels who fear the city and want to destroy it. The Doctor and a good Exxilon penetrate the city and reprogram its AI so that it goes crazy. Meanwhile, the Daleks have two humans plant explosive charges on the outside of the city. The charges go off and the city melts like styrofoam under a blowtorch. I mean, exactly like styrofoam under a blowtorch and in the power drain. And Sarah has arranged for the humans rather than the Daleks to get the unobtainium. The last remaining threat is the Dalek ship, but a sketchy human named Galloway redeems himself by sacrificing his life to destroy it. The end.
What'd you think of this one, Jimmy?
I thought it was interesting. I thought it was fine. There is a problem with a lot of early Dalek plots being too similar to each other, and this one is different. I like how one thing I noticed is the title of the story, Death to the Daleks, it really didn't become relevant until the very end of the fourth episode.
That was the note I was writing before we started.
Yeah, so there's kind of a mismatch between the title and the story, but it's atypical for a Dalek story. They become important, but it's something that it breaks some new ground, like the fact the Daleks are in the same power drain as the humans to begin with, so they can't just blast everything. They eventually, though, and I like this too, they find a workaround. They replace their ray gun accoutrements with slug throwers. So they get machine guns, basically, which are chemically driven rather than electrically driven, and so they're able to work despite the power drain. And so it was a nice Dalek story that didn't feel just like a repeat of everything else we've seen the Daleks doing in this era.
Yeah, on the title I was like, it's and on the one hand, it's a bit spoilery, like the Daleks do die at the end. On the other hand, it doesn't really have much to do with the actual story. It's not really connected to the actual plot of what's going on. So it's kind of funny. Someone, on the Doctor Who staff said, we need a Dalek name, for the episode. And that's what they came up with. I like a lot of stories from this era, it suffers from not much going on early on, especially in the first half, especially the first episode. There's almost no dialogue in the first episode. Once the Doctor and Sarah get separated and they're just wandering around on Exxilon, the Exxilons don't actually, the hooded ones don't actually say very much at all. They kind of grunt a lot. And so there's not a whole lot that happens. It's kind of sparse early on. The action picks up in the second half.
Yeah, there's also another problem with episode 1, which is that a lot of it occurs at night and the lighting is super dim. It's hard to see what's going on the screen unless you're paying really close attention. And I can only imagine what it would have looked like in the early 70s on a TV back then.
Right, especially for where a lot of people still had black and whites then too. It would have been really hard. I think they'd filmed some stuff outdoors on location, but I think the nighttime stuff was in studio.
Set.
Yeah. So now it was written by Terry Nation, of course, as all Dalek stories of this era would have been. But just thought I'd mention that. A little funny thing.
Terry Nation was the creator of the Daleks.
Yes.
That's why you got to write all the stories about him.
Right. It opens with a guy, one of the Space Marines, getting an arrow to the gut, which I had to laugh because it reminded me of it was kind of like a Monty Python moment of Holy Grail. Message for you, sir. Like just thwunk. It occurred to me, that comparison. Every time the Doctor and a companion is going to a beach or otherwise some kind of vacation planet, something goes wrong, like invariably. Every single time. It happens
with Amy Pond. It happens every time they're going to a beach. And that's what's happening here. The Doctor has promised to take Sarah Jane to an amazing beach world, and then they end up on Exxilon instead, and they're stranded. I like how in this they make it explicit. The Doctor says the TARDIS is a living thing. And I also like how once the power drain sets in, he points out the door to the TARDIS is normally operated by by electricity. So to open it, they're going to have to use a hand crank. It's like a tire iron they stick in the socket in the wall and crank the door open. And then once they get outside, Sarah Jane is dressed for the beach and it's cold and dark and she wants to go get some real clothes on. And so she turns to the Doctor and says, "You won't leave, will you?" And he reassures her, and she goes back in and he immediately walks off.
Of course. It's like, it gets attacked and captured, Doctor. I do like that the Gallifreyans apparently thought ahead of time and said, like, what happens if we lose power? We need a way to open the doors. So they came up with this. That hand crank will eventually be used by Sarah Jane to beat the bludgeon out of an Exxilon.
I know. I really like how one of the Exxilons, it's just someone in a robe. We don't know who it is at this point, but one of the Exxilons gets on board the TARDIS and she twice wails the tar out of him with the tire iron. It's like, yay, she is not a helpless damsel in distress companion.
It's a classic Sarah Jane. Yeah, it's one of the things we love about her. It's interesting. The energy trap. This is a trope or a plot device that's used often in sci-fi. The TNG will use this later on. I think we've already talked about that episode in Star Trek. Well, but it's so this idea.
Suffice it to say, it haunts our memories.
It does. So the Doctor is out wandering about with a lantern. He's got a hurricane lantern, basically a kerosene lantern, and
which is also chemical, so it works
exactly. And gets captured. And at that point, as I was saying, there's almost no dialogue in the first episode until the Doctor runs into the Space Marines, the other humans from Earth. There's no dialogue at all in the episode from that point.
And then they have a good bit of dialogue as they all eat space mashed potatoes together.
Exactly. And discuss the space disease. And then, of course, we have the introduction of the Daleks at the end of the first episode.
And this was where I really noticed something bizarre about the incidental music in this episode. It is like weirdly comical. I can't hum the tune of it because I didn't memorize it. But like when the Daleks are coming out, you would expect really dramatic music. And it's this not Baby Elephant Walk, but it's kind of like Baby Elephant Walk. And it's wah, 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 wah. And then they used in all 4 episodes, they used this same comical sounding incidental music whenever there was a threat.
Right. I don't know if they had a different composer this week, but yeah, it was odd. And of course the Daleks are all, mechanical. And that actually raised the question for me, which the Doctor eventually answers. So the question is, if the Daleks, weapons are devoted power, how is the Dalek casing still working? And the Doctor says, they move by psychokinetic power.
Yeah, which is interesting. I mean, the way that comes up, because he's having to explain what Daleks are to Sarah Jane Smith, because she's never seen one before. And she thinks they're robots. And he says, well, they're sort of half robot. Inside of each of those casings, there's an alien. And she asks if they have legs. And he says, no, they move by psychokinetic power. And this is actually interesting because they haven't always. Like, if you go back to the original Dalek episode, The Daleks, from the first Doctor's time, they are run by electrical power that's piped to them from the floors of the Dalek city. So they can't really leave those floors. But here we're told there is an explanation. They use PK, or psychokinesis, to move around, which I thought was an interesting addition to Dalek lore, especially given that Daleks, I mean, they look kind of like green octopuses when you actually see a Dalek mutant. But I thought having them have psychokinesis was an interesting addition.
Yeah, I think the Daleks evolve over the decades of Doctor Who, and so this is an interesting part of that evolution. Also interesting is how the humans propose right off the bat an alliance with the Daleks. The Daleks first threaten to shoot them, and of course their weapons don't work, and so the humans say, look, you're no threat to us now without your weapons. Why don't we work together to get this thing that we both need? That's what they assume at the time, and to get off this planet. And as soon as all bets are off, as soon as the power's back, we're back at war. But in the meantime, we'll work together. This is another old trope, another old plot device of the enemies who are in a shared situation who decide to cooperate for the duration of the crisis. But once the crisis is over, we'll be enemies again. So we see that. We've seen that a lot in Doctor Who over the years too. So it's interesting. The Doctor,
I'm a little interested by the fact, once they get their slug throwers out of storage and put them on, why don't they just end the alliance right there? Because now they're a threat to the humans again, and they kind of end it, but they kind of don't.
Well, they take the humans captive and make them start working for them, but they don't kill them because they need their help to end the power drain.
Yeah. They also, and this is not clear, but they take one of the humans, who's a civilian named Jill, hostage. And this is unclear. I think there was part of the script that got cut or something, because at one point they're using the humans as overseers of the Exxilons. The Daleks also cut a deal with the Exxilons, the city worshippers, of we'll help wipe out your enemies, the city haters, if you help us mine this unobtainium. And they put the humans to work as overseers of the Exxilon miners. And Jill is with them at that point, and she leaves. And then the next thing we know, Jill is in this cave where Sarah Jane finds her. And it's unclear why she's here. Eventually, this is in episode 4, she's found in this cave. And later in episode 4, we're told that they had taken her hostage. But there's something that is not there. There's just a big jump in Jill's story arc there, that I suspect there may have been material that ended up not being used in the episode 4.
Right. She's the scientist there. That's why she's there. She's the civilian scientist on this expedition, most of which have died.
Yeah, but she eats space mashed potatoes just like the rest of them.
That's right. I like how the Daleks are pretty useless without their weapons. I mean, they are easily overcome when they don't have their ray guns, and before they have their projectile weapons, they're just rolling roadblocks.
And even when they have weapons, they're not a match for. So there are these things that look like giant mechanical snakes that we're told are roots of the city that burrow around and like look for power sources after centuries for some reason. And the Daleks are not a match for the root snakes. The root snakes will totally wreck and kill a Dalek. and that happens more than once.
Yeah. One of the if there's ever a Doctor Who party game, one of the things will have to be a companion is being sacrificed to an idol or something, and that happens in this one. Sarah stumbles on the city, and that's apparently forbidden, and so the city worshiper Exxilons take her to be sacrificed very slowly, a la Indiana Jones and the last the second one, which wasn't as good.
The Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom, thank you.
At least they get her doped up. I mean, they've got some kind of chalice with mist coming out of it, and they make her inhale the mist. So they're not just they're not letting her feel the full terror of what they're doing to her. Right.
So there are 3 Space Marines alive when the story starts. There's Galloway, who's sort of the older, grizzled guy. There's a lieutenant.
He's the weapons officer.
Right. There's a lieutenant, the younger guy. And then there's a commander who I think is the guy we saw get injured early on, the guy with the arrow, the message for you right at the beginning. And he's basically dying.
There's a 4th who's their captain, who says he's second in command of the expedition for some reason, even though he's got the rank of captain. I guess the commander outranks him, which is weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's future Marines, Royal Marines, because Marines are not naval ranks, they're their own ranks. And I wonder if Royal Marines, I don't know, I'm not familiar with their rank system, if they have, like, captain is a lower rank in
maybe
in the Army and the U.S. Army and U.S. Marines. Anyway.
But Captain Railton, the second in command, he's going to get killed by an arrow in episode 2, so he's not long for this.
Right. And so the commander eventually is dying. He's been manhandled and and that sort of thing. And so as he's dying, he's got Galloway there. Galloway has been the warmonger. He's we need to do what it takes and sacrifice whoever in order to win.
Because there are millions of people that are going to die if they don't get the unobtainium.
Right. They have a ticking clock, a month, I guess is their timeline. And as the commander's dying, he's trying to tell Galloway, you're not suited for command. You need to make the lieutenant is going to take command after I'm dead, and then dies. And Galloway doesn't say anything.
Well, he says, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Right. Exactly. And so
and the commander is blunt. He just tells him you're not fit for command.
Right. So Galloway kind of at this point becomes kind of a bad guy, and he's willing to make this alliance with the Exxilons and the Daleks to kill the opposing tribe, the city haters, in order to get this mineral to save millions. He's making end justifies the means argument. And
so I like the fact that he is a bad guy, but he's not like an irredeemable villain. He has motives that are understandable, and even something. I mean, he is trying to save millions of people's lives. He's we know he's making mistakes here. He shouldn't be doing. But he's not an evil guy.
Right.
He's just a bad guy.
That's a good nuance at this point, that too often, especially in more modern TV, we often have, there's no nuance in the bad guys or the good guys. And so I like the fact that Galloway has some nuance and is redeemed in the end, as you mentioned. He also agrees to hand over the Doctor and Sarah. That's another part of to the Daleks.
And as soon as that happens, it's like, okay, this guy's going to die. So in episode 2, this guy's going to die by the end.
Yes. But that's when the Doctor and Sarah, there's a whole kerfuffle when the newly armed Daleks show up to rescue their compatriots who have been taken captive by the Exxilons. And, a ruckus ensues, and the Doctor and Sarah escape down this tunnel where the tunnel snakes things are. But also the good Exxilons, at least the ones who don't try to harm the Doctor and Sarah. So we'll put it that way. And
by the way, I thought I'd mention this. There's an interesting effect, and I'm not 100% sure how they did it, but so they have this writing on the walls of the Forbidden City that lights up, and this is impressive visually because the city is white. I mean, the walls are just white, and and you can see the carved letters, and they're sticking up. They're in relief from the walls, but they're white too. And they rigged it somehow so that they would light up. And like when you hit it touch the wall, the writing on the wall lights up. And it looks impressive, especially given they didn't have CGI back in 1974 or whenever this was filmed. It looks impressive. They also have it on the good Exxilon suits. They have this kind of bark-like skin that's darker colored, but between it has to flex, on their uniform, on their costume. And so between the strips of the bark-like skin, there's an underlayer that's white, and they use whatever light they're shining on the writing to make it glow. They also shine it on the Exxilons, and that makes the white parts of their uniform, of their costumes, glow. And the Doctor even calls it out. He says, when he meets one for the first time, or a couple of them for the first time, he says, "Sarah, who are your shine-in friends?" Yeah. And I like it. It looks cool. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how they did it, but it looks like they're shining some kind of light on a reflective surface that makes it look like it's glowing.
So the Doctor and one of the good Exxilons, they're going to go into the city to shut it down or figure out how to stop whatever it's doing.
And this is an impressive city. The Doctor describes it as one of the 700 wonders of the universe.
Yes. And the Doctor, before he does, he gives Sarah a mission to ensure that the Daleks don't destroy the Earth ship when the power comes back. And I like that. He trusts her ability and her autonomy. He gives her a task. This is Sarah, you're capable. And, I'm not going to talk down to you. I'm not condescending to you. So I like that Sarah right off the bat has, a strong, she's a little different from, who's the one previous?
Katie Manning.
Yeah. Like she was capable, but she didn't have quite the same autonomy and ability that Sarah Jane has. I like that.
In part because the actress Katie Manning was blind almost and had to be. I mean, whenever you see Katie Manning's Joe Grant running with the Doctor, they're holding hands. It's because Katie Manning cannot see where they're going.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
Also, the Doctor tells Sarah Jane, if I don't come back, you go with the Space Marines.
Yeah.
Of course, he doesn't warn her about the space mashed potatoes, but he is at least trying to keep her alive.
Right. So it turns out this giant intelligent city is a big escape room. It's just a series of puzzles to get you to the center.
Only it's escape room going in rather than getting out. Yeah. Right. Also, I wanted to mention the write-in. The Doctor can kind of read it. He says he's seen it before on the stone wall of a temple in Peru. And since they've already established that the Exxilons used to fly through space, the Doctor proposes that they visited Earth and taught the people in Peru how to build, because, of course, native people don't know how to build anything unless aliens tell them.
Yes. All of the pyramids in Egypt.
Yeah. But this was the 1970s, and ancient astronaut theory was a big deal.
Yeah. So the Doctor and his native friend have to go through each room solving whatever the puzzle is. They're being chased by a couple of Daleks who apparently just barrel through everything without having to solve stuff as much.
They do barrel through one thing at least, but it's because it's a trap that works on human skin, and the Daleks are covered by their shells. So
right,
it's like it sparks electricity. It's a floor design. If you have to hopscotch over it, and yes. if you don't, then it'll zap you electrically. But since they're in their shells, that protects them, and that lets them barrel through that. And actually, I thought that was well done, because we've just seen the Doctor and the good Exxilon hopscotch their way across this thing, and the good Exxilon is like, well, so why did we have to do that? And the Doctor says, I'll show you. And he tosses something on it, and we see this electrical lightning bolt come down and destroy the thing he tossed on it. So you're thinking as an audience member, oh, the Daleks can't hopscotch across this. They're going to get zapped. And I'm expecting, because it'd been a long time since I'd seen this one, I'm expecting, oh, the Daleks are going to get, wiped out by this. And then, nope, they're covered by their protective shells. They don't care.
And they shoot it up anyway to deactivate it.
Yeah. And then they show us that it heals itself. By the way, I also noticed that as the Doctor and the good Exxilon are about to hopscotch across, which amounts to only step, it's got like white panels and orange panels. And you're safe as long as you only step on the white panels, although they never say that. But the Doctor is using his sonic screwdriver to scan the design on the floor and figure out what it's safe to step on. And this is so early. I mean, the sonic screwdriver had only come in a few years earlier with the previous Dr. Patrick Troughton. And back then, it was only a screwdriver.
Right.
Now it's a magic wand and you can scan things with it. But this is an early example of the Doctor using it to do more than just open doors and stuff. Here he actually is using it as a scanner.
So the Doctor does say what all these puzzles are about is the city is testing their intelligence to see if they're smart enough to let them into the inner sanctum, the central control area of the building,
which makes no sense.
Right.
We only want smart people in here who could be a threat.
Or maybe it's just measuring the advancement of the Exxilons. I mean, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Asimov's Foundation, where maybe the Exxilons built this city at the height of their power, knowing that for some reason their civilization was going to collapse, and that their descendants should only have access once they've reached a level of intelligence again, or something.
Yeah, or maybe it's just they're putting in the code words.
Yes, exactly. So they do get to the center, and the Doctor decides that the way to fix things is to give the city a nervous breakdown. He likens it to a body, and they're in the brain. And so they're going to give it, and he reprograms it. But again, early 1970s, he doesn't sit at a keyboard and type in a new program. Nope. He pulls out circuit boards and starts going at him with the pliers and rewiring the darn thing physically, which is a lot of fun to see.
And the city also retaliates by creating it uses a transmat to create humanoid antibodies to attack the Doctor and the Exxilon and the Daleks and stuff like that.
Right. The Daleks show up, but they're attacked by the antibody things, and so the Doctor and his friend are able to race out as the city is self-destructing, but the Daleks are pursued but slowed down by the antibodies as they go. It was interesting. I thought it was interesting also, we kept seeing this shot of the Doctor and his friend on camera, basically from this control room, and there was a figure in front of the screen, and they were implying that this figure was controlling things.
But nope, the figure is a dead person who's dry as dust and is going to turn to dust as soon as they encounter him.
Yeah, he's much older than the other skeletons that they kept encountering, of people who'd failed the test. So it was interesting.
And it is kind of interesting how just having these skeletons laying all over the sets as they're going through the city. It's creepy.
Pretty clean skeletons, by the way. Yeah, straight out of the scientific testing storage area. Meanwhile, Sarah has come up with a plan, along with Jill, to not only to save the Earth ship from the Daleks once the power is back, but to save the unobtainium by swapping it out, basically filling a bunch of bags with sand, and then taking the bags of the good stuff and hiding it. We don't see any of this. The logistics of this leaves a lot to the imagination, because I'm not sure how she pulled it off. But in any case, she does pull it off. They get it on the Earth ship, and the Daleks do manage to take all the sand onto theirs. And then in the end, the Daleks, they don't bother killing the Doctor and the others. They just said, well, you're going to die here because we're going to destroy the planet from orbit. We're going to shoot it actually with the plague that they've got the cure for, a particularly evil, ironic death. And, but as the ship takes off, Galloway had saved one of the explosives that the Daleks had given them to destroy the energy block in the city.
Which was a good thing he did, because otherwise they'd be really in a world of hurt at this point.
Right. And at first, the lieutenant, the other guy, thinks that Galloway has betrayed them. Like, where's Galloway? Where's he gone? We could use that explosive now. And it turns out that Galloway was on the ship and does the heroic thing. Yeah, the Dalek ship. And does the heroic thing and blows it up as it's taking off and saves everybody. Which is excellent. The question I'm left with is at the end, and maybe I missed this as I was going through, but who built the city? I was asking myself at the end, who built the city and for what purpose? And I kind of gave my guess at why they built it, but I don't think it actually explicitly said that, right?
Well, the Exxilons built the city. Yeah. And they built it to be a, presumably some kind of high-tech paradise, but like, other races, they foolishly, built AI that was advanced enough it could destroy them, and it did.
Okay. So it was the city, the AI that did destroy them.
Yeah, Bilal, the good Exxilon, says that it was the AI that destroyed their civilization. And I missed that. And then in the aftermath of the fall of their civilization, they split into these two factions, one of which worships the city and one of which hates the city.
Okay. So that's all the notes I have on it. Jimmy, did you have anything else on this one?
I think that'll do it.
All right. So, before we go, we do want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create The Secrets of Doctor Who, including Rob H., Frank C., Claire R., David G., and Jan C. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue The Secrets of Doctor Who and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So that's it from us this time. What did you think of Death to the Daleks? You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com or the Secrets of Doctor Who Facebook page. Send an email to drwho@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/discord, or watch The Secrets of Doctor Who on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. We'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the fourth Doctor story, Full Circle. Until then, Jimmy Akin, thank you for joining me and sharing The Secrets of Doctor Who.
Oh no, the introduction of Adric.
Looking forward to that. And I'll just hold on to the memory of Adric being exploded. And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Doctor Who on StarQuest. And remember, that must be one of the 700 wonders of the universe.